Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Eternal Palace. Today we're taking a look at Azshara on Mythic finally, better late than never. I do want to apologize real quick that this video's actually got the front end of it clipped off. I failed to see how long this fight actually was going to take, so I clipped off my own front end. But anyway, getting right into this one. When we pull on the two first ads here, at the start of the fight, we're just going to group them up and cleave them down, you know, as long as we can before they get the debuff. And we're going to save our second CS for the first Hulk that comes out here, roughly in 30 seconds after the pull goes, every single time, so you can just leap and go for that. One thing I did want to point out is these little purple patches on the ground that the ads drop that slow you. If you're using Conflict and Strife as a minor trait, or essence I should say, then you can stack up the buff on these little purple patches before that Hulk even spawns, so you can just dip in and out repeatedly to get up to 8 stacks. That way you've got the full versatility buff for the first ad. And then we're just going to continue to tunnel down Serranus here until he gets to about 30% when Longing goes off again, and we're going to even out their health pools as much as we can here and cleave them both down. Depending on DPS and how the beam lines up and all that jazz, they can be pretty low here or high. You just got to play it by ear. We're going to go ahead and use Warbreaker again on these guys just so I can get a big Test of Might buff on the execute phase for this last Hulk spawn. And I've been watching for it, so you just leap, you know, go to it. And we're going to nuke it really quick pretty much every time here. The strategy is we're going to Binding Shot with our Hunter, and then we're going to hit it with a Kidney Shot from a Rogue. For whatever reason, they don't DR on those things, or it doesn't enrage it to make it immune on the Kidney Shot. I guess they can do 2. You don't want to charge first, though, because it'll break things. We're going to wait and just get them both down to about 5% health here and wait for these last Arcane Orbs to come out before we end up finishing off the 2 ads. And then everybody's going to move over to the blue raid marker and stack up for our decrees. Now this is where WeCores come in and play the game for us, and I got probably the easiest one here, which is just everybody stacking up on blue still, moving forward a couple of feet, making sure that we're not clipping the circles of the 2 people behind us on our left and right so they can soak those Arcane Orbs down as much as possible. And we're just AFK, waiting for Queen Azshara to come down from her little pedestal. And she's immune here when we first charge her. I usually put in about 2 globals before she can start taking damage, so you don't want to go ahead and pop all your cooldowns immediately because she's going to be immune for the Colossus Smash. We're going to drag her to the center of the room here and start charging up this first ward in the middle. Now, all the melee is going to be getting their debuff stacks on this middle ward and keeping it low. I'm going to wait slightly here. I'm going to still get my debuff stacks, but instead of just entering right away, we're going to wait for these guys on the sides here to come in, all these ad spawn. That way I can get a nice circular, you know, clean Warbreaker and Bladestorm on all these guys. And you do have to watch out for that beam that always comes out right after they get to the middle. And we're just going to clip them all down as much as we can. We did miss the back half of those guys quite a bit there. That could have been a little bit cleaner on the kill here. But, you know, not the end of the world. We just got to soak the ward once they're all dead. And we're just going to stack up on the console side here and just do our thing as we're having the range soak this last back console here. And we're trying to beat the ad spawn. I can't remember what it's called. That happens around 70-ish%. Not the end of the world if you don't. You just gotta soak more stacks later on, but LOSing the Arcane Detonation there. And from this point, the fight is kind of a, like, just dance. It's very choreographed, and we're not gonna be changing our strategy much. One thing is the Arcane debuff stacks that makes us take more Arcane damage. We're not clearing those preemptively because we're trying to do as much damage here as possible. So we're clearing those during the explosion when she's casting that, and it's just enough time to clear it. And we're going to go ahead and stack up on blue again for the decree at 70%, and you can see that beam that was about to come out. Sometimes it can get a little tricky and it'll pop out for like 1 second, insta-kill anybody that happens to be running through it. So, that's one thing to be, waiting for if you do see it, because you got plenty of time to get to blue before these decrees come out. Now, this one is a lot more dangerous than the previous one because there's actually some damage going out here. Not the end of the world. We usually save a rally for that. D-stance is really nice for arms, just being able to sit in that while you're running in circles. Now we're getting our 3 big adds that come up, and this is the meat and potatoes of the fight right here. We're saving our Warbreaker when we re-engage Azshara, even though we're trying to get as much damage on her as possible for Lady Venomtongue here, because I want to be able to clip all 3 of these, the 2 adds and the boss with all that, so we can slowly work down Azshara at the same time. Now, as we get the add here low, all of our range are going to be moving off to the other side of the room, because we're positioning in a way that her little explosion doesn't clip us on this this first pillar over here. While, she's blowing up, we can all transition over here to get to this second add. Now, the second add is probably the biggest DPS check of the entire fight, I would say, because we want to get this thing down before it casts its first shield, or second shield, whatever it is, the first cast. And unfortunately, I did get the bomb debuff that needed to be dispelled out in line of sight right after I Colossus Smash, but we do end up getting it anyway here. We had some problems killing the Myrmidons too quickly beforehand, but what we found is, I was saving Blade Storm and everything, even though I should have been using it to clip Azshara as well and just, go full single target DPS, because Blade Storm is still part of your rotation, of course. But if you're cleaving too much on that Myrmidon that he's going to die anyway, and you're going to miss the shield, then you might as well just wipe and reset. So it's not the end of the world if he's really low, because we're going to go ahead and finish him off right after the big Naga Lady ad goes down. So I'm not sure what was going on here with the Myrmidons running around the corner constantly. We should have had those drug over much more consistently. And we're just going to be lightly cleaving the Naga here and cleaving Azshara as much as we can, and just working down these Myrmidons, because we're going to get another one after this guy goes down. And like I said, we should have had this probably drug back over here, but it's not the end of the world. Executing that down, and I'm saving onto my Memory of Lucid Dreams here for just a little bit, because I want to make sure that all these adds are low, and then ideally we are getting Azshara herself down to about 50% before we transition into the last phase, so all these things have to happen at the same time. And I want to make sure that I got Sweeping Strikes up and a big Colossus Smash all around 20% for the adds. That way I can stack, as much damage onto Azshara as possible going into Phase 4, because right here is when we're going to do that. I do get the Spear, not the end of the world, because I'm in a good position for it, and we're just going to be tunneling executes onto all 3 targets here with Sweeping Strikes. All of our range is going to go ahead and move a little bit earlier to the back of the room there, and that's so they can all bait out the Void Zone debuff that's going to be coming very shortly. And this is where we're going to go ahead, pop Lust, and second pot. I say second pot, first pot actually, because I haven't been pre-potting on the pole ever for this fight, because you're just standing around during Phase 1. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of a waste. So we're going to pot here, pop Lust, and we're not going to be worrying about our arcane debuff stacks once again until we transition back up to the console for the last burn of the fight. And at this point is where we're getting pretty high, so we're going to dip back and clear off these stacks. Now this beam here during the end moves, and it was in a pretty rough spot, but luckily, it's going the opposite direction, so it's not the end of the world. And we're going to click that console down. Now, the biggest issue during the final phase are these red beams that can kind of sneak up on you, honestly. They look pretty obvious watching it back from a video's perspective, but when you're actually playing it, they can kind of jump out at you. Anyway, we're going to hit our coral right at 31% to try and trigger that Ink Pod crit. I do think it crit for like 1.1 million or something on Azshara, so Ink Pod's definitely worth it for this fight since it's so long, just like Ash Vein. And the range is going to transition back over to the left just a little bit ago to bait out that second set of Void Zones, and then we're going to come back to the console, clear off our stacks once again here. And I'm going to go ahead and soak this ward a little bit, because you do want to be paying attention to those ward soaks every time. And we're going to pop Rally for these explosions here. And you don't want to get too many stacks. Being at 5 is pretty safe for pretty much everybody else. Arms Warrior, it can feel a little sketchy at points being at 5 instead of 4. But we do get, since we hit that memory during the tail end of the last phase, we do get it right at 20% once again, so we can just get, you know, really good value out of our executes for the last 20% of this fight. I am rotating around the front here because we were going to clear stacks and the boss moved around the front. I just wanted to execute as much as possible during that CS window. Unfortunately, I do have to stop here for a second anyway to clear off those stacks, otherwise the explosion was going to kill me. I popped a health potion there. I had already used my health stone at some point earlier in the fight. And from here, it's just going to be a burn. Kill her before she kills us. There is going to be one less set of lasers that are going to be coming out here, and they're the only thing to really worry about. Now that one was pretty close. We get another one right on top. And unfortunately, this last one here is going to get me. Now, I thought I was going to be safe in between these two, but apparently not. I thought there was going to be plenty of room, but 2%, we do get hit by something. It was like 250k-ish, so maybe it wasn't the laser that was killing me. I'm pretty sure it was, though. That last set of void zones do come out right at the end, but we go ahead and take her down a little bit earlier this week, or at the tail end of last week, I should say, right before patch 8.3 comes out, so we got it before the new essences or anything. Really happy to see that. I would like to thank my guild for, you know, sticking through this the whole way. Thank you very much for watching if you made it this far, and I will see you in the next patch. Peace.